There is a peculiar moment before a season arrives when fashion feels less like prediction and more like prophecy. Small signals, a fabric shown twice, a silhouette that lingers in the margins, swell into a chorus that the rest of the world eventually learns to hum. 2026 will not be a season defined by one loud idea. It will be defined by the way many quiet ones begin to convene. This is not trend as spectacle, but trend as temperament. Subtle shifts in how we want to dress, what we want clothing to do for us, and why the clothes we choose must now carry moral, technological, and emotional freight. Below, in the language we love, clear, considered, and a little lyrical, is what you need to know. First, the texture of value changes. Post-pandemic thrift and the resale economy taught us to recycle desires. Now buyers want objects that reward time, not hurry. Value ceases to be only monetary and becomes relational. Pieces that hold stories, that improve with age, that invite stewardship will be the currency of taste. That means two things for what you'll see. Investment pieces will be quieter and more private, not logos shouting, but details speaking to those who know. And contrasts will be intentional. A perfectly tailored coat paired with an obvious second-hand find, a new artisan accessory next to an old family scarf. The aesthetic is layered biography. Second, craft returns, but it isn't nostalgic. We've moved past the museum stage of craft worship, the exhibition piece you never touch, into craft that solves problems. Expect materials engineered to last with beauty, fabrics that resist pill and climate without abandoning handwork, finishes that patinate honestly. What's crucial is the narrative around the maker. Consumers no longer want craft as fetish. They want evidence that a process was necessary for the result. That changes how brands communicate. Fewer sweeping claims, more demonstrable provenance. The house that can show the tool, the artisan, the tiny choice that altered the silhouette will win trust. Third, hybrid tailoring, the greatest, slowest rebellion of recent years, grows sharper. The tailoring of 2026 will be generous, architectural when needed, but more interested in movement than polish. Jackets will be constructed to accommodate life, room for a sweater, a swipe for a shoulder bag, sleeves that don't bind. Waistlines will shift fluidly between utility and elegance. This is not anti-dress, it is pro-life. Clothing designed to be lived in, that reads elegant across contexts. It's a tailoring that respects the body's modern rhythms and the modern woman's many roles. Fourth, the democratization of texture. We are moving from the chewable simplicity of monochrome to tactility that feels intimate. Think soft knits with engineered structure, hand-pleated panels that behave like modern armor, and surfaces that reward touch rather than camera flashes. Texture will be a private language between garment and wearer. It will invite closeness rather than demand spectacle. Fifth, color becomes a mood architecture. The loud seasons of viral neons are softening into palettes that stabilize rather than electrify. Expect grounded greens, softened terracotta, restrained mauves, and a return of tonal brown as the backbone of seasonal wardrobes. Accent colors will be deliberate. A lemon note, a cobalt stitch, used as punctuation rather than headline. The effect will be calmer feeds and more wearable statements. Sixth, the new idea of utility is not merely functional, it's metaphysical. Pockets, closures, adjustable hems. These details will be argued for aesthetic reasons as much as practical. Clothing that adapts will be prized. Hems that change proportionally, collars that fold into new narratives, sleeves that can be tightened for work and loosened for evening. It's the closet you want when the day you planned becomes a day you didn't expect. Seventh, gender fluency becomes fluent. This is not about silhouettes labeled men or women, it's about proportions and codes that travel across bodies. Designers will increasingly think of sizing as a toolkit, adjustable, interpretive, democratic, rather than a fixed taxonomy. The result will be collections that feel more inclusive, not for the sake of a label, but because the clothes themselves invite translation. Eighth, quiet maximalism. A new restraint emerges. Where maximalism used to denote excess, now it denotes considered accumulation. Think ensembles that reward patience, carefully curated layers, jewelry that reads like heirloom instead of costume, and accessories that build a persona rather than an outfit. This is the maximalism of patience, not display. Ninth, tech is less about spectacle and more about companionship. Expect wearables that are discreet, materials that regulate microclimates, and supply chains that trace provenance with minimal fuss. The tech that wins will be the tech that behaves like an extra layer of care, cooling where heat is a problem, protecting where fabric is delicate, transparently showing supply origins without becoming another headline. 10th, regionalism matters again. Global fashion cycles are not dead, but they are less monolithic. Local narratives, a particular mill in Tuscany, a dyer in Japan, a weaver in Colombia, will define collections in a way that honors specificity over generic internationalism. Consumers will respond to a sense of place. They crave garments that carry a map in their seams. Now, how to make these trends work for you, practically and thoughtfully. Adopt curiosity as a daily habit. When you encounter a fabric or finish, ask the question, why here? It's the single most useful tool to understand whether a piece is a trend or a truth. Look for intention. Visible stitching that does something structural, linings that hint at purpose, pockets that are sized for real objects. If the detail addresses a need, the piece is likely to be durable in taste. Build a small system rather than a closet. A system is a set of rules that gives your wardrobe cohesion. One season you may prioritize outerwear proportion, the next season color modules. Systems reduce the tyranny of choice and make new pieces play well with old ones. They also make your purchases smarter because you are buying into functionality, not fashion noise. Learn to shop with a time horizon in mind. Not every purchase must be an investment, but ask, will this still make sense in 3 years? If the answer is yes, because the piece solves a human need, warmth is proportion movement, buy. If the answer is yes, only because a logo will still be fashionable, pause. Investment in style is about utility layered with beauty, not a bet on badges. Groom your accessories like a collection. Small things will carry meaning next season, a uniquely crafted brooch, a compact leather wallet with character, a scarf that carries weight. Accessories are the easiest way to layer biography into an ensemble without overhauling your whole wardrobe. Practice the gentle art of restraint on the camera. Trends will play out physically more than visually. Photos that compress movement into a single frame do not capture the fabrics that breathe. If you are a creator, make room for video, where texture can be seen and felt in motion. If you are a buyer, test how a garment behaves across 3 moves: walking, reaching, sitting. That is where truth lives. Finally, remember the psychology behind desire. Scarcity, craft narratives, and stories of belonging are persuasive because they answer ancient social needs. Use them, but use them consciously. Buying can be an act of self-definition, a moment of ritual, a way to mark a life event. Let your choices be deliberate markers of your story, not reactions to someone else's. 2026 will reward patience, curiosity, and the capacity to read garments as arguments about how we wish to move through the world. The season will favor brands and makers who offer coherence over hype, ritual over spectacle, and utility honed into beauty. If you lean into those currents, into texture that invites touch, tailoring that accommodates life, colors that settle rather than shout, you will find a wardrobe that feels less like a costume and more like a companion. This is a year of subtle reorientation. The promise of fashion in 2026 is not to give you new eyes, but better patience with what you already see. Dress for the life you intend to live, and the clothes will reward you with a quiet kind of triumph. And what's fascinating about 2026 is that fashion no longer feels like a chase, it feels like an unfolding. It's as if the industry has finally exhaled after years of aesthetic whiplash, constant trend cycling and algorithm-driven taste. We're entering a season of reconnection to materials, to meaning, and most importantly, to identity. Fashion is returning to its human scale. Less performance, more presence. The biggest undercurrent shaping 2026 is the rise of intentional dressing. Every decision, from the silhouette you choose in the morning to the fabric you let touch your skin, will start to reflect an internal shift. People are tired of clothes that speak too loudly. We're gravitating toward quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't ask for attention, but earns it through refinement, through energy, through knowing who you are. We're watching people move away from the trend wardrobe mindset, buying for the moment, into a more edited, purposeful relationship with fashion. This shift is not about minimalism, but meaning. It's about asking, does this add value to my life? Does it represent me beyond the season? And that question is reprogramming how we view style entirely. It's not about being on trend, it's about being in alignment. Another defining mood for 2026 is what could be called stealth individuality. For years, individuality meant shock value, unexpected styling, extreme silhouettes, or ironic contradictions. But the new individuality is more discreet. It's not about being different for attention, it's about being distinct in energy. The woman of 2026 isn't shouting, she's communicating through nuance, how she layers, how she pairs textures, how her choices reveal thought, not impulse. It's a subtle rebellion against sameness. Social media aesthetics, once the ruler of trends, are also evolving. Viral fashion is fading, the aspirational fit pick era is being replaced by something deeper, authentic aspiration. We want to see people who live beautifully, not just dress beautifully. You'll notice a rise in what feels more human: movement, natural light, imperfection. Clothing in 2026 must perform well in both the real world and the digital one, and the more authentic it feels, the more desirable it becomes. Another shift worth noticing is the new emotional luxury. We're redefining what luxury even means. It's no longer just the price tag or exclusivity, it's how something makes you feel. Luxury is comfort without compromise, elegance without effort. It's emotional durability, pieces that make you feel secure, competent, empowered, or grounded. Designers who understand that emotion will lead in 2026. And then there's sustainability. No longer an add-on, but a baseline expectation. Yet the tone has changed. It's not about guilt-driven messaging anymore. It's about longevity and quality. True sustainability in 2026 looks like timeless craftsmanship, natural materials that age beautifully, and fewer but better things. The conversation has matured. It's not eco for the sake of trend. It's value-based dressing for people who want coherence in their lives. There's also a fascinating cultural undercurrent emerging, what could be called refined rebellion. After years of performative aesthetics and maximalist chaos, rebellion now looks like clarity. It's not about breaking rules, but rewriting them quietly. The woman who once wanted to shock now wants to mystify. She's less concerned with validation and more with self-definition. In 2026, mystery becomes powerful again, and that's what we'll see across everything. Clothing that implies rather than declares, silhouettes that suggest strength through softness, power through understatement, fashion that whispers, you have to know to know. And that is what truly looks expensive in the modern era. Not money, but restraint. Not excess, but intention. There's also a profound spiritual undertone to this shift. As society reevaluates its values, clothing is becoming part of that self-awareness journey. People are realizing that style is not surface level, it's language, it's psychology. What you wear reflects how you perceive yourself and what you subconsciously wish to attract. And the women shaping 2026 fashion are doing so from a place of emotional intelligence, choosing elegance because it feels aligned with maturity, composure, and quiet confidence. And this is the beauty of the moment we're in. Fashion is healing from the noise. The upcoming year will be about restoration. Designers are returning to the art of subtle storytelling. Consumers are returning to discernment. We're moving toward wardrobes that feel intentional, serene, and deeply personal. So, when you look at the 2026 trends, the tailoring, the quiet textures, the organic materials, it's the sense of calm minimalism meeting modern edge, understand that it's not random. It's the reflection of a world craving authenticity again. People are no longer trying to impress, they're trying to align. And that's the essence of fashion in 2026. Not trend chasing, but self-anchoring. Dressing beautifully because it feels right, not because it performs well on a screen. Choosing pieces that reflect evolution, not validation. So as you shop, edit, or simply refine your style this coming season, remember this. True style is emotional intelligence made visible. It's the quiet clarity that turns heads without trying. And in 2026, the most fashionable thing you can be is sure of yourself.